Good morning. I'm back in the garden and it is quite noisy this morning. We've got a lot of road noise and there's some construction going on nearby, but it is a beautiful day and I wanted to give you some updates of what's happening in the garden. So we've had maybe a week of significantly cooler temperature for here, so probably getting down into the 60s in the evenings and lots of rain. So a lot of things have really taken off, especially some flowers that were struggling. So if you live in places like Hawaii where it's quite hot and you don't have that fluctuation between day and night with the temperature, some plants that should be normally, you would say, would be planted in the spring, I have found more success starting them in November or December, so they can get started. They oftentimes have a slower start. They just kind of hunker down, but it allows them to really put down good roots and get going well, so that when it comes time in the spring, they're ready to go. And they're not stressed by the heat. So it doesn't have to be really hot for them to get stressed. It can also have a lot of wind. Here at this garden here, there is a lot of wind all the time. And that is transpiration, where the plants lose a lot of moisture through their leaves. So it can be cool and dry, and then the plants are really, really thirsty because the wind is pulling it out of the plant, and you may feel comfortable working and not realizing just how thirsty the plants are. So that is something to think about. So anyway, I've got a plant here that has clearly gotten way too much water. It's a drought tolerant form of oregano, Cuban oregano. Some people call it the false oregano. And it's very drought tolerant. It doesn't need a lot of water, but when it does get water, it goes like crazy. So I have been pruning it back every week when I come. Now it's actually laying down and sprawling almost like a vine. So here it is. We've got a sort of compost pile, but you can see where the concrete is, how much it's come out. It's just taken off, and I have it growing in another location in this zone, and we have it in an entire bed on the other side. So I think today that I am actually going to remove this. It's not a good location, so don't be afraid. If something gets a little crazy in a location, you have to decide what you're going to do, and sometimes it just means removing it. It's too much maintenance. It's up to you what you want to do. But remember the corn seeds that the cardinal ate? Well, they're all doing very well. And some of them you can see how shallow they are. So we've had a lot of wind, so the roots are weren't able to hold it up, so I'll just fix that up. And then I'm going to remove these are seeds from the flowers that were in here, and they're just too many growing in here. This is dill. We have a really hard time getting dill to take off here, but these are finally, now these have been seedlings in another bed for a couple of months. No kidding, they've only been about this big for months and months. But we were so happy that they germinated, because we've had a hard time getting them to germinate. So I moved them over here, and they're looking better. I hope they continue to do okay. For a while there, I thought they were getting too much water, but I can't do anything about all the rain that we've gotten. That one's looking sad. So anyway, and then over here, we've been getting a nice steady harvest from the long and skinny eggplant here. We still have a curly one, and apparently this particular plant likes to make curly curly eggplant because there's another curled up eggplant in here. I'll show it to you when I get on the other side. But you can see this guy, there's about 3 or 4 that are ripe on there, and we'll come around. So that curly guy is still there, but look, here's another curly eggplant. So so there's a dark line here, so it's pulling that side of the skin tight. That's what makes it curl. I will have to look that up and find out exactly what's going on. Oh, this bean, it's got attacked, but I'm going to save the seeds and try to grow again and see if we can get this guy. I've grown it before, and these leaves were they were like this big. So I think I'm going to try again. So I've mentioned in the past that if you save your seeds, the information from that growing season is passed down into the seeds. So maybe if we plant from these seeds, because these are not a hybrid, they should grow true to seed, that the next time around they will be stronger and healthier, and then hopefully they can ward off these pests that are on here, which really got to the plant quite early. I think it's so pretty this time of day to look at these seed pods. You can see through them. They're really pretty. You can see the seed inside. It's a great opportunity to explain plants and planting different things. Good morning, Tori. Thanks for joining. To kids, they like to hold it up and see, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? And then you can hold it up and see, yes, it is ready. And with the cooler temperature, of course, the snap beans like the cooler temperature. They're probably twice as big as they were last week. I didn't think they were going to make it. They're still looking a little rough, but like I said, with the cooler temperatures, that's what these plants need to really be happy. Marigolds are, I guess they need to be deadheaded. I thought they were going to get more of a disease. I see it coming in there a little bit, but yeah, we've got some spider mites. I don't know if you can see it in there, growing along in there. I see some really fine things. Good morning, Peter. How are you? I'm just in the garden showing what's been happening and what's successful. That corn over there is doing really well. You see two that are much shorter. That's because they didn't make it the first time. So I popped some new seeds in last time. This guy right here, this is a nasturtium, and it was a volunteer. So I don't know, sometimes plants, they just want to do what they want to do, grow where they want. They had grown here in the past, and I had sprinkled the seeds, and then a couple of them sprouted. I left one in the ground, and that skinny little scraggly thing in there, those little leaves, that's it. These big leaves, so what they did was they sprouted in these holes. The seeds had fallen there. They're like little black BBs, and they landed in here and they sprouted. So I took some that had popped up in these holes here and put them in the nice dirt, thinking that they would be happier over there. All of them died except for the one, and he looked scraggly. I left this one still. Look, this is one plant. I left it growing out of that, and he's the happiest of all. So you never know. And then the nasturtiums are there. Now this is an edible plant. You can eat the flowers. They they're mostly pretty. They do have a slightly peppery flavor, but they are it's not poisonous. So if you wanted to dress up a little springy thing. As far as the feeling of the blossom petals in your mouth, I It's a little odd to me, but it does definitely have a peppery flavor. And then we have all these cosmos. They are doing lovely. And then every time we come, this particular variety of okra gets big fast. So whenever we come, the okra, because we're only coming here once a week, the okra is to the point where we don't want to eat it because it does get really big and woody very quickly. Different varieties, you'll have to read, different varieties have different growth patterns. So this would be great if you love okra and you want some like every other day, because it's a good producer, and you would have to pick them when they're only about 3 inches, and after that they're just not that tasty. So what's going to happen? I'm going to take this guy out. This is being attacked by beetles. It's distinctive. You can see something is actually coming and nibbling the leaves. So that's a sign of a beetle, and you oftentimes won't see them. They'll come up out of the dirt at night and munch away. Oh, I wanted to show something. So this type of gardening is just kind of free form, and that's my intent for this zone that we're working is to show people that you can have a really attractive garden and also be productive. You can get a harvest from it without it being rigid rows. In your home garden, you don't need 5 okra plants and 5 eggplants. I mean, if you get one that's healthy and producing, it's more than enough for your family and for eating. So what do you do with all the other space? Well, put some pollinators in there that are really easy. So these cosmos have just been resprouting really easily. Great pollinators. We've got the comfrey here, which stays green. It's a nice stabilizer, and then I can just cut it down and add instant compost to the soil. And then when I have a seedling, I can tuck it in there. Now, I planted this by seed in direct sow. And because he's down in there, I had to mark and remind myself that I had planted something in there. So just have a stick of some sort to remind yourself that something is planted there, so when you reach in there to weed, you don't accidentally pull it up. So I see 2 have come up. That is a cherry tomato that I've grown in the past. It's done really well here. It's very interesting in the garden. It's called Midnight Snack. It is a near black cherry tomato, and as it gets ripe, it goes from purple and it has little shades of red on it, but it's just a really beautiful tomato, and it does have a nice flavor. And like I said, we've had success with it here in the past, so I was happy to grow it again. And we've got some more growing over here, same variety. Again, I had to put a stick because they just blend in. But if you look carefully at the underside of the leaf, you can see it's a dark purple. So it has that dark purple genetics in there, and it shows up in the leaves when they're sprouting. So I think I had to direct sow these seeds 3 times before they actually stayed. First time they came up, and then they were gone the next time. The next time nothing came up, so maybe the birds ate the seeds, and now we've got something growing. So it's still at a very tender stage. I put slug bait last time. I'm going to re-put that in place because I can clearly see that there have been slugs. So if you look here, you see how, yeah, slugs have been in here. They love these tender, soft things. So I will again put the slug bait. When it rains, you have to reapply. So anyway, covering a lot of things this morning. These corn were planted about a week before the other corn, so they're a lot taller. They're doing really well. We've got beets growing here. They look like they're maybe 2.5 times the size that they were last week, so from 1 week to the next. So you can eat the bottoms and the tops of beets, so they're a great plant and easy to grow. And we will probably harvest these today. If you have any questions, just let me know, but I'm going to get started weeding before the sun gets too hot. Thank you so much for those of you who have joined me, and I'll talk to you later.